It powers our cars, it builds our cities, and it's woven into the very fabric of our modern lives. But have you ever really stopped to think about the incredible journey oil takes to get to us? Well, today we're going to do just that. We're going to follow the path of this black gold, from deep within the earth right into the heart of our world. Just look around you for a second. Your phone, the bottle of water on your desk, maybe the clothes you're wearing, even life-saving medical gear. On the surface, they've got nothing in common, right? But they all share a secret ingredient, a common ancestor. They all started their life as petroleum. So here's the roadmap for our journey. We'll kick things off with the sheer scale of black gold, then dive into the high-tech hunt for it. After that, we'll see how it's pulled from a well to the surface, how it's transformed in a refinery, and how it ends up, well, everywhere in our lives. And finally, we'll ask the big question: what does the future hold? Okay, first things first, let's just get a sense of scale, because oil isn't just another resource. For the better part of a century, it has been the absolute engine of the global economy, our single most important source of energy, period. So just how big are we talking? Well, right now, oil accounts for a massive 31% of all the energy consumed on the entire planet. Think about that for a second. Nearly a third of everything, the lights in our homes, the cars on our roads, the factories making our stuff, it all comes from this one source. That's a staggering figure that really sets the stage for our whole story. So how in the world do you find something that's hidden thousands of feet underground, sometimes even under the ocean floor? It's not like you can just start digging, right? It all starts with a super high-tech hunt led by geologists. The go-to method is something called a seismic survey. And honestly, the best way to think about it is like a medical ultrasound, but for the entire planet. Instead of sound waves showing you what's inside a person, geologists use them to see deep into the layers of rock. Okay, so here's how it works. They have these specialized tools that send powerful sound waves deep into the Earth's crust. As those waves bounce off different rock layers, they create echoes. Sensitive receivers on the surface listen for those echoes, and then a powerful computer crunches all that data to build an amazing 3D map of what's down there. And that map is what shows them where oil is like trapped. Once they've found a promising spot, the next huge challenge begins, actually drilling down and bringing that crude oil all the way to the surface. And this is where some seriously impressive engineering comes into play. So a massive drilling rig starts by boring a narrow hole that can go for miles. Now, to stop that hole from just collapsing on itself, it's reinforced the whole way down with steel and concrete. Then, right at the very top, they install this complex maze of valves, which is nicknamed the Christmas tree, and its job is absolutely critical. It has to control the immense pressure and manage the flow of oil coming up. At first, things are, well, relatively easy. The natural pressure inside the rock formation is often strong enough to push the oil up all on its own. That's called primary recovery. But, just like a can of soda, that pressure doesn't last forever. So to keep the oil flowing, engineers start what's called secondary recovery. They literally pump water or gas back down into the reservoir to build the pressure back up and force more oil out. But here's the really surprising part. Even with all that incredible technology, we're not even close to getting all of it out. On average, both of those methods combined only manage to extract about 40% of the oil in a reservoir. The rest, the majority of it, stays trapped deep in the rock, stuck in tiny pores like water in a sponge. It's just incredibly difficult and expensive to get. Okay, so we've got the crude oil out of the ground, but here's the thing. In its raw state, it's sticky, black, and pretty much useless. To turn it into the products we actually use, it has to head to a refinery. And you can think of a refinery as a giant kitchen, but for chemistry. The star of the show here is a process called fractional distillation. First, the crude oil gets heated in a furnace to a crazy 600 degrees Celsius until it all turns into a hot gas. This gas is then piped into a massive, tall distillation tower. Now, as the vapor rises up the tower, it starts to cool. And here's the magic. Different parts of the oil condense back into liquid at different temperatures. The heaviest stuff, like asphalt for roads, collects at the bottom, while the lightest stuff, like gasoline, rises all the way to the top. It's this simple principle of cooling that lets us separate all the useful bits. All right, we've followed the journey from deep in the earth all the way through the refinery. So where does all this stuff actually go? The answer is pretty much everywhere. The influence of petroleum is woven into our lives in ways you would probably never, ever expect. The most obvious one, of course, is transportation. Gasoline, diesel, jet fuel. This stuff powers the cars, trucks, ships, and planes that literally connect our entire world. Next up, plastics. And this one might just blow your mind. An incredible 99% of all plastic is made from petroleum. That's everything from water bottles and food containers to your computer keyboard and the dashboard in your car. It's just everywhere. And it doesn't stop there. What about the food on our plates? Modern agriculture is heavily dependent on petroleum. The fertilizers that help crops grow and the pesticides that protect them are often derived from it, not to mention the diesel that fuels all the tractors and harvesting machines. Believe it or not, it's also a cornerstone of modern medicine. Things we totally take for granted, like sterile gloves, syringes, IV bags, and medical tubing. They are all petroleum-based products that are absolutely vital for healthcare. And yeah, you're probably wearing it right now. Synthetic fabrics like polyester, nylon, and acrylic, they're all fibers created from oil derivatives, and they make up a huge chunk of our wardrobes. So while we see it in all these different places, one sector still absolutely dominates. As you can see here, transportation alone accounts for a whopping 57% of all global oil demand. That makes it by far the single biggest driver of the entire industry. And this complete and total dependence brings us to the final and most critical part of our journey. The world is changing, and the future of oil is defined by a set of absolutely immense challenges.
You can really break it down into four main hurdles. First, you've got resource depletion. Oil is a finite resource, and the easy-to-get-to stuff is getting harder to find. Then there's the undeniable environmental impact. Burning fossil fuels is a major contributor to climate change. We also have to deal with price volatility, where geopolitics can cause the cost to just swing wildly. And finally, there's the big one, the energy transition, this global push to shift our economies toward renewable sources like solar and wind.
Which leaves us with one last big, thought-provoking question. For over a century, our entire civilization has been built on a foundation of oil. It has shaped our economies, our cities, our way of life. The question for all of us now is, what are we going to build it on next?